industry. We are so excited that you were able to join us for this episode today. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can find us on all social channels. But as we dive into this episode today, we're going to be talking about creativity and design, what this can mean for you, in your own adventures. So my name is Tisha Harris. I'm the team leader of Texas Tree Team.
I'm Michelle Duty.
What do you do?
I'm a real estate agent, realtor.
And so, who are you and what keeps you busy these days?
Reagan Cameron and everything. So, we do design, we do some background documentation, so as builds. We have our own little development in town, which hopefully will be awesome, be something interesting. And sync.
So when you think about, the journey of getting here, what were the things that inspired you to become an entrepreneur and go into the career path that you created for yourself?
I'm thinking through how it started, and I was trying to do anything else other than work for them. I started working with Upchurch, and then COVID hit, but I had Revere in the background, and again, I was trying to work for anybody else because I was thinking, gosh, working for myself sounds like a lot of work. All I want to do is creative, and I can just do that, and anybody else's fun, and then it'll be fun. Turns out that a lot of people don't find people jumping around and trying to find fun ways of doing things in a business which needs to be very regimented. Good thing. So, you put me in that situation, and then all of a sudden, people have like small issues, which obviously get larger because I'm unaware. I'm just being myself, and I found this way of doing things in Revit where you can do this really quick and it's actually consent. And of course, they're like, that's not our system. Yeah, I just did it in 15 minutes, and typically what we're doing is like 3.5 hours. So this is just pretty. Yeah, but that's not what we're doing. I get that. What's the issue? I did my thing, but anyways, I'm telling you, you should do it this way, which doesn't go over well with a lot of people.
So do you think it's more on like technology and systems that you're platforms that you're using have innovated so much that you're ahead of the curve and it's saving time and not having to be against the grain with all the systems that other people may have used for decades or the years in a business?
It's more like a trust issue. So when you're working with somebody that so I'm working with John, my mom. And John's my best friend's mom's housing. And working with them, it's so easy to communicate because when I do something and they're not quite certain what I did to get to that end point, it doesn't really matter because they're like, great, it's done, let's carry it forward. So the thing that made me, I suspect, not great in other firms was a thing that made me excellent in front of clients. And so, the end result is what the client's looking for. It's a little bit different than what you talked about. It's not a big deal because you can talk to them why. It's a little bit different. Hey, I couldn't do these things because number one, it'd be weird. But number two, there are fundamental things that I, in the process of getting to this point, realized that it's not a good idea. So, that conversation you can't really have with a boss or an owner unless they're open for the idea of kind of relinquishing that kind of review or quality assurance. And of course, then in a larger firm, you're never going to be in a position where you can do like small things that grow larger. You're really just doing a small thing, and then which that's really where our firm gets something interesting. Like, what's the beauty of our firm's ties and what we do is we are holistic in the thinking. So you're not just getting one thing that was handed off, you're getting one thing that was carried forward from essentially one person or one group of people who have no issue with things being done strange or a little bit different because the end result is quicker or a little bit more precise because we're trying to get something different going to this particular project. However, the reason is.
Yeah, so diving into that, tell us a little bit about your firm, like, say we're customers walking into the door, like, what should someone expect?
Well, it's different every time. Yeah, it's boutique, which is like the term I think a lot of people throw out. The other one is what's the one that like means it's like custom made. Everybody says it. Terrible at terminology, terrible at marketing, great at talking, but yeah. So you know, like the thing is when somebody comes in, you'll have typical clients that come in. You're like, hey, I had this house. We're trying to do a renovation. There's a typical one that we hear, like especially in Brenham, which I think is a great area of focus. So, you know, you're coming in. I think my first thing would be, okay, well, let's try to make sure that we're getting an accurate idea of what we're dealing with. And then after that, let's talk about what you're looking to do with that. So, you know, we created another company called Asbo. So Revere, obviously, my design company. But then we have Asbo, which is really just an offshoot of those newer ways of trying to do things in a faster, you know, more accurate or better way, which we only got there because we were trying to find out how can I do something in 15 minutes to get something done, or retroactively looking back and going, gosh, I really wish we had this information. Is there a way that we could have had it? Because it's just so silly. I'm wasting time. Because that's how I feel. Like I'm wasting time going back, getting more information, which everybody does. And you know, consequently, we made Asphalt. And so Asphalt is just a scanning setup where we can get these background images, but it's accurate to 1/36 image, which is well within image limits. And now I have a floor plan, but I also have an interactive 3D that I can go into and literally measure. It takes me 5 minutes to spool it up. We use Matterport as our background because why not? Like it's there and you can upload a bunch of different stuff. So let's just use that. It's not reinventable. And so consequently, we have this really nice product which I can send off to the client. And that's really kind of the heart of how we think. You know, Revere, how I want Revere to be, and really how Revere is functioning. It's nice. For the first time, I'm like, oh, we're doing what I'm thinking, just a really fun thing. But that whole thing, so when you come in and you can be a client, and that's, but I would say, okay, great, let's do an assessment. And we would do an assessment, get a scan, I'd probably send you the scan and say, okay, like bottom line, we've gotten this. If you want to carry on with us, here's how I think we should do it. Here's the phases. They're pretty typical phases, but the things in the phases change. So I would say, okay, so now here's what we're going to do specifically, creating studies and reports. This is for you. And then when we get to schematic and redesign, that kind of area, here's the specific things you should be doing for you. This is what I'm hearing. And then like at that point, you know, obviously there's conversation. Oh, well, actually we come up with these. And what always happens, which is good, is we get to the point of schematic and it turns out, well, actually we wanted a site plan. Actually, now that we're thinking of maybe 2 stories and since we're already here, we do these things. Let's do the whole design. Let's think through this from a master planning standpoint so that we know what you're going to be doing, ideally in 10 years, because rural settings, right? Like we're talking 10-year cycles. Like there's kind of 10-year ups and downs. So you really have to think through the value of the house, not just like the next 5 years or 2 years. Most structures and most stuff that we build now for the next 10 years. And then have a master plan that follows that, which you know costs you relatively nothing. You're talking about like tops $1 square foot for the house. You're not even talking acreage. You know, typically we talk through master planning on 160 acres plus. So it's like getting a lot of bang for your buck, just not that much design fee. And of course, like, from my perspective, like, man, it's a great service. So now you know what can fit everywhere. And it's probably all going to change. It doesn't matter because you have something to challenge it on. And that challenge makes it to where now you know exactly where you're going. And you know if it's good idea or not. Because even if our master plan is wrong, it doesn't matter. The fact that we wrote something or drew something or did something means now you have a way of figuring out in this whole crazy nexus of infinite possibilities, what can I do that's close or different than that? Because I don't like that, but if I do this, okay. So like it's just a system.
You said the augmented reality that you're doing, like, do they have the ability to make changes, or they have to, like, as they're doing it, like, are they commenting and then you're able to make the immediate changes, like, or does it take a little bit of time?
I wish, I actually had augmented reality like that. We worked with this group called VAR. And the problem is, it was too much expense for not enough interest. But that's definitely a background.
Do you think it's like the area where you are, of if it's of interest or not? I would imagine if you were somewhere like in a larger city, that might have more reception than a rural community.
Yeah, we worked with a group called Able Design. They do a lot of hospitality, and I showed them what VAR can do. So we actually uploaded the new version of their concept into an open scan. And it's actually really cool because I can upload it offsite into their phone. And yeah, exactly like you said, it's something could be, oh, I really want this red. I could do that live. We could have a live interface. That's something we've done.
Okay.
The problem is, I actually do need more than like 2 or 3 clients for that. And if you really want to make that sustainable, you're looking at probably like 15 plus clients a month. And so it's like, even though we have the capability and we actually have shown use case for that, right now, all we're really showing interest for is stands and backgrounds, because we can represent through the theater, but also like people can use that for marketing and other things.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody on the there's kind of a series of skills. I think it's really cool. They're not looking at it for the floor plan, though we did do some quite popular floor plans. But like very gestural, like it's just like walls and openings, and now they have kind of a rough floor plan. They're using all this ones for yeah, it's fun. Yes, but they're using all this for marketing, which honestly I love, because it's this one thing that I can do that can be used almost in every industry. And the problem is, I can't even convince people like in a whole that they should be using that. Everyone's, oh, why did I do that? Because it's free.
Because I said so.
Yeah. And it's like also like now you have your space captured in a time and place. So like the power of having a literal time capsule photograph, a time capsule of your entire space, it's actually really, really powerful, especially when we get into insurance and losing a bunch of our sketches or whatever. Right, man, where was that stuff? I really had a hard time. Not to mention the historical implications of that. Like 50 years from now, we'll have 75 plus different structures that are all historic. And I'm like, man, that's gonna be really powerful. Because now we actually have these structures sealed in time. And that's gonna be really interesting. So right now it's just scans, but yeah, you can leverage it in so many
So I work with a builder, and we are, I don't know, 50% their sheetrock and cabinets and stuff like that. So can you come into a project at that phase and kind of do a rendering of the home and the entire property, kind of completed, the look of it completed?
Yeah. What we typically find is, doing that one-off is not cost-effective.
Okay.
If I had 15 clients and we could get enough funding, you could do those rendered backgrounds for like something that made like $300 a view. So it's actually really affordable. It's actually part of the reason we like As-Built. Like we can do these scans for 4 cents a square foot. So you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, like I have these ways of getting the information that we need to create designs, make sure you look very accurate, very of, and we're doing it for 4 cents a square foot, which you just can't beat. And you don't have to go back because I have all the measurements and everything I need. So why are we not doing this every single time? And then that's actually like the baffling question I keep asking myself. I don't know why everybody's not using this. They should. That being said, yeah, you can, but we find it more effective just to do renders. We do that often. So we work with a couple of interior designers and movie theater groups where really what we do is like a quick rendered idea. We'll take the scan still, we'll bring that back, and we'll just mock up like some sort of rendered thing. And
Yeah, put his vision on paper. He has very much what it's gonna look like finished, you know,
Yeah.
in his head. I just need that on paper.
yeah.
So you can do that.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's where Revere comes in. Oftentimes we're doing as-built as well. A lot of people talk to them about. And funny enough, as-built documentation doesn't do as-built sets.
Good name.
Yeah, right. I mean, like we can get to that level, but oftentimes we just tell them, look, these are going to be accurate to the hardware. Hardware's going to give you a rapid file, and then they kind of take it from there. And then of course we leverage that in Revere as well. So it's like, if you want to use Revere, awesome. We can do drawings for you, get renders, all those other things. Because fundamentally, if I did the VLR thing, and I just did it one-off, it was like $5,000 plus, which is just not sustainable. But maybe do a rendered package for a house, you're looking at like $1,250. Like, okay, that's nice for sure. It's a much more approachable number. Even though if we had enough people looking for the VLR, everybody, everybody can get a rendered idea.
It would make sense for like a developer, like to
Yeah.
come in and doing multiple, like to have something like that versus just the one, like you're saying.
I agree. And like it is one of those things that's like any bulk, it works really well. It's actually one of the reasons why it's like if more people use design groups, architects, things like that, well then the cost of design would get lower, and ideally the quality would go up.
Right.
But a fair amount of people don't use them because they're which expensive. Yeah, that's also because nobody's using them. But you ask any designer, actually any designer, including myself, we want to do this really cool project. Here's what we got. They're not finding a way. And that's the cool thing about art. That's the cool thing about artists is they don't really care about money. They should. Luckily, I have a dad that kind of like, it beat into my head. Hey, do you need to worry about cash? Okay, thanks. Which is actually great that he did, because I'm pretty sure I would not care about money at all if he did it. And like that's actually the norm. We did a project in the Esperson building, and just a use case concept. And really, it was with this group called UXD, Anthony Rose. He's really cool and really great group. And they were filling in artists into the building itself. So like all 32 floors. And the idea, they just had a lot of excess space that was kind of odd because it was an older building. It's one of the oldest buildings in Houston. And we scanned that thing. And they were just like, okay, we got this empty space. Let's do something with it. And that was this artist in it, which then Anthony went with us. And same deal. Artists don't really care about money. That's not a great sales pitch to somebody who's like, we need to measure and pay money. But consequently, within that time, you brought the artists in, and all of a sudden you gain tons of different businesses that want to be around that energy and excitement. And so, I think thinking through what an artist is doing to a community doesn't make sense on paper or from a money standpoint, but thinking through what an artist can do for a community does have a financial impact. It's actually a huge financial impact. And not just like big little fun things that you buy an artist. You have to bring them to a space and help them grow. You have to actually bring them to an area and have them have a community. And because of that, there was 5 new businesses that emerged from that small little period. It was only like 3 months. And then in that period, we also gained like 3 new tenants that took over entire floors. So you'll let the impact in that small area brings life. Yeah. And I think like when you're talking about what Revere does, I definitely think that's our focus is how can we bring life to a project that comes in the door? How can we make this happen? And so like luckily we've been in a position where we can really be selective on our clients, which I like. But what I don't like is we don't have a way that we're accessible to everyone, which I think is where Aspen comes in. So It's like this really great thing that everybody can use, and it's extremely powerful in any setting. So it's just, get a scan. And it's not like we're making cuckoos of money per scan, but we still make a profit. So it's a really sustainable business that we can have indefinitely.
Basically, like, in a sense, and pardon me if I'm like
Mhm.
saying it incorrectly, but it's like you were resistant to the fact of like, money, because you had other feelings like from a heartfelt space versus like profit space, but it sounds like now you're kind of figuring out like maybe what your dad was like pushing to you, but in your own way. And that brings beauty to the projects of whatever you do.
He's great. He's probably one of the only dads who's like, you need to be an artist. Like, I'll show you. I'm going to be kind of an artist who's kind of an entrepreneur, which is so funny. But yeah, he's been very supportive, very focused on the financial, because that's how he thinks. But he's just as creative, and yeah, I think resistant to thinking about things as money is like a good way of looking at it. But fundamentally, you shouldn't do work for free. So like thinking through the projects we want to do and how to make it work is more, I think, appropriate. It's like, well, does this make sense financially? It does. Something that we make into something. And then now I'm bringing things to bear and a timely so that we don't, obviously lose money. So we get this moving. That's a sort of challenging conversation with the client. It's like, hey, look, if we keep going on without getting these decisions done, like we're gonna have to back out because we're not getting enough friction, we're not getting enough traction, and that's actually costing us money. So like either we need to make these decisions or you're gonna pay us more, which we don't want to do. We'll have to be a part of this. So like and it's an awkward conversation. It's a powerful conversation because it gets them understanding that we're trying to do this with you. That's our objective. So
Yeah. What's the most interesting project you've had in your career?
I'd say like the most recent one that I really enjoyed was the museum. Right at the end, it didn't really end well, which is unfortunate. No, it's in Houston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Houston Maritime. It was really great though. Like I really enjoyed doing the fabrication, talking it through. But I would have to say like most interesting and recent, I feel like impactful was the thing with it. So at the Esperson Tower. It wasn't even like a traditional project. Like all we did was find spaces, work with the building, talk with Anthony. So it was more of like this social experiment, for lack of a better way of putting it. But like that weird, like what exactly are we doing the entire time was never gone. But we did something, and something we did ended up making businesses. It was this really wonderful thing. Artists got a space. We can be a part of that, which is also exciting. And it's kind of what we're trying to replicate in our own development here. We've got these 3 buildings. It's on an acre. It's got this courtyard space attached to it. So there's like so much exciting things that happen on that space. I think more for me, I would love to do what we did at the Esperson building, which, funny enough, talking to people, it turns out like we've done a lot over the years. We just never did so intentionally. And then we're doing this intentionally again.
Well, I think as a business owner, like that's what happens, or just as an entrepreneur, is like you have try, fail, try, succeed. And then it's like eventually you take the 10 nuggets of success and you're like, okay, let's go do this,
Yeah, it is kind of thinking through that. And I feel like there's people who just do it very naturally. They're like, okay, that didn't work the 15 times I did it. This time it will. What? And then it actually does. And I'm pretty sure I do that. Which I don't know if I'm like actually trying, but definitely, it's like over the years I've definitely tried to do what we're doing at this property of ours, 1407, 1405, 1404. But like now I feel like it's kind of like, okay, exactly what I'm doing. We won't go over that threshold of victory. We're just gonna get these small victories until we get the next. And you're really trying to get that, how can I be sustainable for 10 years or so? And then, okay, great. But if somebody comes in with money, okay, well now we have more options. And you kind of just go with the flow and figure it out. Like we're doing that coffee pop-up, again, going with the flow, it was a great group that it gave us all the equipment, which is, they're great. Root Lab, they're really cool. They do fabrications for museums like all over the US. But specifically, they just did a museum, Houston's Natural Science Museum.
Membership there.
Oh man, you get, yeah, you'll see their stuff, like all the, that big brain that you can walk in, you know what I'm talking about? That's theirs, the Pharaoh exhibit, that's theirs. Yeah, they did a great job, and they're just top notch.
Pharaoh's, it's been there for a long time.
Yeah,
It's in the closet.
yeah.
I heard the rock room is gone. The gem room.
Oh yeah, no, they redid it. Yeah, so it's like, it's not, there's no gym room, but they do have kind of like a walk through gym thing. Like it's not, are you talking about like the old one where it's all
It was all dark, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, the dark one's still there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
It's like June stuff, yeah.
Got it.
So we were talking like before we started the recording up, but like you have been an artist your whole life and like you have to deal with tragedy of losing it all.
I got a call. So,
Right? Yeah, we'll edit it.
oh, good. Yeah, I don't think I was trying to be an artist. I think, I started in high school and I did drawing and everybody said it was the worst thing they ever saw, which is, but like experimenting and trying new things, that's why I look terrible. I was kind of thinking, can I do a painting that's all black? Turns out you really can't, but you can if you have like the right tools. Because I was just like, watercolor, let's see what happens. So that did not go.
So do you like watercolors more than acrylics?
No, actually, like acrylics better. Watercolors are just quicker.
Yeah.
So I use watercolors a lot because they're so quick and I'm impatient. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, yeah. The first mentor I had was an engineer in school, and he was a rocket engineer, rocket scientist, yeah. And I was like, I'm really good at math, and I feel like I'm an engineer. It's gonna be great. And at the time, I had already taken Cal 3, so I was like, okay, great. I'm going to college and just gonna do more math. And he was like, Reagan, you're not. Like, no, this is gonna be great. And I'm thinking of like cool ideas and like this is how I think we can attach things and like holograms at the end of the day is like, no, like you're not an engineer. And so then he talked to my parents who then put me in touch with this architect, John Jackson. And John Jackson was like, yeah, Rick, you're not an engineer. You'd be an architect. I'm like, what? Architects are weird. He's like, well, I'm insulted, but also you're gonna be fine. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm like, now I'm insulted. Anyways, I went into architecture. It was a good move. It still says like adult arts and crafts. It's great. You're learning it, but like there's like fundamentally I'm using a lot of glue. You're like, sounds like arts and crafts to me. And like there's math and you learn a bunch of stuff like that. But yeah, I don't want to trade for anything. I would say that the nice thing is I learned how to be an artist in that. And I started doing art as like an extra job, which I just assumed, okay, if I can look at I learned how to draw. So then I started to teach myself how to draw.
So, you want some tea?
No, I'll be good. I'm telling you, it's the cedar. Oh my goodness. Oh, and then we did that pop up, and like I was fine. Like I was bad this beginning of the week, and then it was like we did the pop up, and then it's like in some stuff that I could do. It was,
Good.
yeah, got to. Somebody's gonna give it help. Sorry for hitting me bad, y'all.
You're all right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I was just fixing myself.
Oh, okay. Where was I going with that? What was it? I said something.
You're an engineer. No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so then I talked to them, and anyways, John Jackson got me to be an architect, and at that point, I was like, well, I suppose I should probably learn how to draw. And I did some really nice technical drawings, but like, this is so. I don't want technical drawings. I want to do like something free flow because it's how I think. And then, and it really started big time when I went to Paris. We met this group that do these like big sketches, and they try to like figure out how they're gonna have conversations with sketches. So I started doing sketches in Paris, which is really nice. And then I started selling them in Paris, which is hilarious because there's like,
Paris, France.
yeah, there's always like other people doing drinks and stuff, and there's like me, some white dude. It's just like doing like drawings, and people came up with like, oh, wow,
How about
$10. Like, yeah, great. Ripped out my notebook, and it started going up. And then I was like, I guess I'm pretty good at this, so I should probably do this more. So then I started doing it really all the time. And funny enough, I started doing projects in college. And so I started less focusing on my work, which I should have. I was like, I'm doing projects, like real projects, way more fun than stuff at school. Anyways, that's kind of where like I got really started on projects, and then I realized like I should just be doing that in general. And started with like renovations, and then I did a new construction and concept, which they took and just ran with, and then they got mad at me that like a bunch of stuff was like, well, they shouldn't have, because they'll change everything. What are you mad at me for? Which then, like you learn those things, you're like, okay, now I know how to handle that situation.
Which of the two, which do you prefer doing, like the remodels, or the new constructions, or it's just a mixed bag?
Yeah, it's just working with some of my other concepts. Like I have a creative idea or something that they like. Working with them on that is really fun. So, if it's a fabrication project, right? Like we're trying, we've had a talk with the lab on doing a facade design. And I find that really fun. And then in the same breath, we were talking with somebody about her closet. Like, I loved both of those. I loved everything about it.
It's probably
Huh.
open, willing to share like their vision to get you going. It probably is a lot easier than just, conflict whenever someone's thinking something and you don't understand.
Yeah, like if they're interested, they'll come to us. So like if they're like, hey, I have this thing that I'm like thinking about. I often think the problem with most people's concepts is they get so wrapped up in what they think it needs to be that they forget that there's a process. And the process is really trying to figure out like what specifically can we do to get this idea to come to life. The way that you think through that is like, how can we start something poorly? Like, how can we start something and then refine something that's not poorly done? My dad has this thing, it's better to do something poorly than not at all. I agree. Then mom added to that. Goodness. And mom added to that, which her point was, but don't do two things poorly. And,
Yeah.
And I think that's true. Yes,
I certainly could have used you 5 years ago. We gutted our house, and it's so hard to tell the contractors what we want when you can't show them.
that's right.
Like, when we took out 3 walls in our house, it's only 1,800 square feet.
Yeah.
So it was huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up getting exactly what I was hoping for. What was in my head. But to have somebody who could have, drawn it out for me ahead of time so that I could say, this is what it's supposed to look like, would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I could certainly see recommending you to clients.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, and I do think like a lot of people learn, oh, it's simple. Yeah, it's funny that you're saying that because when I'm thinking through like a lot of the projects, the glitch is like, oh, it's so simple. Like, okay, nothing is simple. And the fact that you're saying it's simple means that, gosh, maybe we need to be like really cautious on like getting the details down. And the nice thing is, if it's simple to you, it means it's very clear. So like now getting the details down would be that much more easy. But yeah, definitely like that exact problem across the board.
So if you don't mind, just go ahead and share, like, where can someone find you online on social channels, if they want to reach out to you, if they have a project in mind?
Yeah, through our website, or just stop by the office, like 1407 South Bay, like so. And then just call me. My number's online, so you can look up Revere Design.net or as built, documentation.com.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we hope that you got some insight into what your project could look like and now you know who to reach out to. And so thank you so much for tuning into our episode today. If you have any questions for us, you can find us at texasrealty.com. Take care and keep living your best life.